I have to say it. I'm not going to be the Alabama coach. What?
How could you not predict at least 10 to 13 wins for next season is all I'm saying. But again,
Jesus Christ, 13 wins.
I said
you want an opportunity to play, and the Jets have given me an opportunity to play.
I'm sorry. I just remember that you compared Gesicki to Kelsey. I'm sorry.
I did not. You know
No question
what?
about it. I am ready to get hurt again.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Battered Fins podcast, episode 7. I am your host, the battered. Oh wait, no, I've had a battered week. Sorry, the bearded fanatic. That is my co-host, the battered Jets fan himself, Danny G. And ladies and gentlemen, we're back after 3 straight losses. Danny, we're gonna cover that here in a bit. But before we get there, obviously my background's a little bit different today. I am recording from the Oven State, Phoenix, Arizona, as I'm over here for work. But Danny, how the hell are you doing today, man?
I am doing pretty well, sir. I'm pretty well. Football-wise, I'm pretty well.
No, you don't have to brag. You don't have to brag. You guys are on a hot little streak.
A 3-game streak of our own, yes, sir. Yes, sir. So
as we were doing this, and you guys were just doing this, now the roles have changed. You know, that's what football is. As soon as you think that you're on the high horse, that horse makes you fall off and then kicks you in the mouth while he's running away. But sir, let's get into it because, and we're not gonna spend too much time on this week's episode talking about the Vikings. It's already happened 4 days ago. I'm pretty sure that by now you guys have heard all the stories, but there's just a few topics that I wanted to graze over, Danny, if that's cool. So let's quickly recap the Vikings at the Fins. And the first topic, and I really felt like I wish we could have recorded Sunday, but it was a tight window as far as getting an episode in and then me having to fly out the very next morning. But the topic, and I said this I said this to Big E right after the game, or right before the game, I should say. I said, can you imagine if we have a third straight week where our starting quarterback doesn't play? And Danny, that's exactly what happened. 3 straight weeks where our starting quarterback for said game practices the whole entire week and doesn't end up finishing the game. Now, granted, we live in a world where people don't want to hear excuses, but you have to admit that with that type of situation, that's a pretty valid excuse because you're game planning behind said quarterback strengths, and now all of a sudden you got somebody who didn't get the practice workload, just had a bunch of mental reps, and now you have to go back to catering the offense to the other quarterback who's coming in.
Yeah, I know this is a little off topic because it's not necessarily about the Vikings game, but
Sure.
at this point, you've gotten a good look at all 3 quarterbacks.
Fair enough.
At this point, I understand Tua is the starter, but who would you prefer to have as the backup now that you've gotten a really good look at Skyler and at Teddy?
That's a very fair question. I would prefer, kind of how I told you coming into the preseason, I wish I could save the money that we're paying Teddy, and I would have given it to Skyler back then, just based off of value in the aspect of what we're currently paying. I thought I saw enough from Skyler to say I think he could make a decent number 2. Based off what he did against the Vikings, that basically the way, if it wasn't for 5 straight offensive penalties on our offensive line, Danny, he was moving us up and down the field before he basically injured his hand.
And he didn't play that bad against the Jets either.
He didn't, coming in cold, like I said. And what I saw, and my boy Nelson was there with me, Danny, we saw a kid, 7th rounder, 3rd string quarterback come in and do a good job against a solid Minnesota defense. He took advantage of where the weaknesses is, got us down in the field, got Mike Gesicki involved, which I thought was going to be a big thing. You have to get that tight end involved, especially your safety blanket, sort of say. But getting back to the original question, I'd rather go ahead and have Skyler as my backup. But ultimately, going back to the question I asked you, 3 straight weeks of not having your starting quarterback play the game, that has to plague you somehow, and being able to finish these games and get the dub.
No, for sure. And the fact that Teddy came out and, I mean, he just didn't look good. I've told you since the preseason that I thought Teddy was probably the best backup quarterback in the league.
You did.
And I think at some points in the 4th quarter, he finally kind of showed it. There was this one drive where the drive didn't look like it was going anywhere. I think it was 3rd down. He avoided a sack, hit Tyreek Hill down the middle of the field. Tyreek stopped on a dime, turned around, and gained like 20 extra yards. And I think they ended up getting into the end zone that drive. And I was like, okay, this is the Teddy that I've been talking about. And then the next drive, I think he threw a pick and it was over. So it was just one drive. But for the most part, I think Skyler has showed a lot more when he's gotten on the field. So much so that I think this game is different. One, if he stays on the field, obviously doesn't get hurt, and two, if you guys score on the first two possessions, because on the first drive you guys got into field goal range, but then you gave up a sack, and gave up that sack, took you out of field goal range, had a punt. Second drive, you guys got into the red zone like 3 times in a row, but penalties kept taking you out. I don't know if that's ever even happened before. 5 penalties. I think it was like on 6 plays. It was ridiculous, but Skyler kept getting you guys into the red zone. So it's like his consistency was there. There's just so much you can do in that situation. I think that he showed that he's going to be your number 2 going forward. I would assume. I just don't know how his thumb's looking.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. They kind of talked to Mike McDaniel about it. He says the point he said was, I think you'll see him in a few weeks. So he's nowhere near being ready to go back to being the number 2.
What is it that happened to his thumb then?
They said there was like an inline fracture right here. It wasn't or hairline fracture. If I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what they mentioned what it was. He smacked his hand pretty well. But again, just based off of that, but talking about the main topic, having 3 straight weeks where the main quarterback who practices doesn't play, it's going to put you in a bad position. But you know who continues being in that bad position, Danny? Is that Dolphins defense. And it's kind of what I've been preaching for the last few weeks. You and many other people give them shit saying, oh, well, maybe they're not as dominant as Danny. Dalvin Cook shut down. Justin Jefferson for the majority of the game shut down. Kirk Cousins wasn't looking like the Kirk Cousins that, putting up 3 TDs a couple weeks ago. He was looking like the Kirk Cousins that people in Minnesota tend to see, which is a not so good Kirk Cousins. But he didn't throw any interceptions, but we kept getting them off the field. But unfortunately, our offense kept putting them back on the field. And it was just continuous 3 and outs on offense for both of our offense for the majority of the game. Where even so, Danny, for the first quarter, 0-0. The second quarter, they got a touchdown on us, but we only put up 3 points. The third quarter, again, another 0-0. And those final 14 points for the Minnesota Vikings, sir, they were towards the end of the game, where our defense spent the majority of the time on the field. So again, after what you saw, after seeing the game and being able to soak it all in, again, the defense for me, big reason why we were even in that game.
Well, I mean, you guys forced them. I think it was like 4 3 and outs in the first half consecutive. Like you guys had them on lock. That's why I thought at some point that Skylar Thompson was going to lead you guys to a win. Now, obviously, he got hurt. And I guess there's a lot of credence to what you're saying. They're giving up a lot of points in the fourth quarter because they're playing so much. But I was honestly surprised at how well the defense was looking. The Vikings looked lost out there. Yeah. They couldn't get anything going. Dalvin Cook was held in check. Justin Jefferson, for the most part in the first half, at least he was held in check. Adam Thielen finally got loose later in the game. Like I was pleasantly surprised. You still don't have your second corner. I'm blanking on his name.
Byron Jones.
Yeah, Byron Jones. You still don't have him. So, I mean, I guess you guys are – what's it going to take for them to put it together for 60 minutes? Yeah. Because when Tua comes back, you guys are or at least try to be an explosive offense, right? You strike fast. But the downfall to that is that your defense ends up staying on the field for a long time. You guys don't have very long drives. You guys try to hit Tyreek Hill and Jaden Waller on long passes. Those are quick drives. That's what happened against the Bills. The Bills were on the field for like 90 minutes, and there's only 60 minutes in a game. It's crazy how often your defense is on the field because you guys score so quickly. Yeah. So I'm not sure if that's even working against you because, like you said, the defense ends up getting gassed towards the end of the game.
And remember, it wasn't just Byron Jones being out. Our boy Darth Kahu, the standout rookie from Texas A&M, whatever school he went to, and it's not even Texas. It's like Texas A&M Cathedral. I don't even know right now. But even he was out this game. So it ended up being on Noah Ingabangi, or I hate even trying to pronounce his kid's name because this kid should not be a corner in the NFL. He had 2 big pass deflections, so I'll give him that. I think they were his first 2 pass deflections of his career, it seems like, to me. Obviously, I'm being a little bit of an a-hole on that one, but I was like, finally, the kid was able to turn his head around and bat the ball away from the receivers. But for the most part, again, the defense spent the majority of the time on the field. If it would have been for consistent drives from our offense, I think we would have won this game. Remember, I picked the Dolphins to lose, but I picked the Dolphins to lose in a close one And this game was a close one. So when I saw Skylar Thompson putting it together and I saw the defense holding them in check, like, turn to my boy. I'm like, this is a winnable game. And before we go on to the next topic, I'll tell you exactly what happened. Do you remember when Dalvin Cook broke that run?
Yeah, 55 yards.
Right after the Teddy Bridgewater interception.
Yards, yeah.
So I
turned in the coffin.
Yeah, I turned to Nelson, and I literally he verify it with him if you want. And I told him just like this. I turned to him and I told him, "We've been bending for 4 quarters. This is where we break. Handoff, touchdown." Because I honestly felt it that whatever momentum we had, that interception depleted our defense. And it happened to be that right at that moment, he broke that run.
Now, we feel, and look, before I started looking at the stats, the eye test at least told me that your defense was playing well. Then the stats told me otherwise.
For sure.
I'm somewhere in the middle right now because, again, you guys, whether you give them up in the fourth quarter and the first quarter, you're giving up those points. So I'm somewhere in the middle with it.
Yeah.
But your defense is showing up. Your offense, to me, is still suspect.
Okay.
But your special teams, what's going on with your special? You guys try to fake punt, and generally when I see a fake punt, it's usually the punter passing it out to somebody.
Yeah.
I've never seen them try to run it and fail. Like that's something that at least I don't see very often.
Can I touch on that?
Go ahead. Touch it all you want.
Would I have called that play on our own side of the field? No, I would not have called that play. But I'm also not a
Mike
coach.
McDaniels. I mean, because he has to. Yes, exactly. He's got the cojones because he has to authorize that play.
But let me tell you something else about that.
On your own side of the field.
Let me tell you something about that. And you know what gives me even more vindication about what I've been talking about? He only approves that play depending on how comfortable he feels with our defense. And our defense didn't give up any points. So again, it goes to show you that if you trust to call that fake punt, and again, he's trying to get momentum for his offense. If you call that fake punt, it's because you have a lot of faith in your defense, and it's merited. I'm sorry. For people who don't want to believe it, it's merited. Our defense is – we haven't gotten to great this season. By all means, I will never say they've been playing great, but they have been playing good football for 3 full quarters and some of the fourth every single game so far this season. It has not been a blowout for 3+ quarters so far this season for this defense. So again, I'm very happy that you brought up special teams, Danny, because my boy Jason Sanders has been getting a lot of flack recently. Not just this week. He blew a bad kick against you guys that could have put us in the lead. Obviously, you remember that. And then this week, he also missed another good one. And he pushed the hell out of that ball. Now, I get it. One thing that you and I agreed on when he missed against the Jets, MetLife Stadium's wins are, dude, if you don't kick it right, it's going to take that ball. Sir, there was not a lick of wind at Hard Rock Stadium. The way he punched that ball to the right-hand side, I was like, this doesn't look like Jason Sanders. Like, I get it. He's been very efficient coming into this season. I can't tell you what it is because I've never been a kicker in my life. Maybe you could shine some light to that, but
no, I play soccer. I don't kick field goals with egg-shaped ball.
But I mean, we've seen plenty of kickers in our league, and it's kind of hard to dictate. Once you're so good at kicking the ball, what changes for you mentally to the point where you start missing what you're very comfortable at making, which 50-yarders are by no chance. I'm not saying they're gimmies, but he's been very accurate when it comes to those kicks. I think he's missing more now than making. So do you think it's a fair point for the fan base saying, is it time to move on from Jason Sanders? Because a lot of them have been tweeting that I think I've seen enough of Jason Sanders this season.
No, but that's the thing. It's not easy. Like, because kickers are like, it's a position that we really don't think too much about. We just take it for granted. But it's really hard to find a good kicker. Believe it. Take it from me as a Jets fan. The last 2 seasons, we went through like 3 or 4 kickers throughout the season because it's so hard to find a consistent kicker. You have a good one. He's having a rough run, but if he's good, he's going to start making them again. It's absolutely no reason to get rid of Jason Sanders.
Asinine.
It's ridiculous. Now, if he starts missing extra points, then I'm like, okay, there's something wrong.
Then let's have that conversation.
But if he's missing high 40s, 50s. Like, those aren't gimmies. You're not always going to make those.
And again, we're not going to spend too much time on it. We got a few topics left of this Vikings game, but another one that I want to talk about, which obviously you saw. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Before you get on this one, I talked about the offense, the defense, and special teams. There was one more thing I wanted to get on.
All right, go for it.
It was 4th and 5 in the fourth quarter.
Okay.
And I was watching, and it was really odd to me because you guys were on offense, and I felt like that stadium got really, really loud.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
And you guys converted, but I thought to myself, why are these guys like? It's more difficult for the offense to perform when they can't communicate with each other. That's the point of home field advantage. I don't think the fan base for the Dolphins has realized that they're supposed to be quiet when the offense is at work. Now, did that stand out to you? You were at the game. I think you might know what play I'm talking about. And
I know
saw
exactly
on TV, I saw a couple fans going like this.
But I was one of those fans.
There weren't enough people doing this because it was really loud in there.
So this is going to be a two-part answer for you.
Go for it.
The first part is yes, there were plenty of Dolphin fans on that exact play.
Getting loud.
Mind you, I'm sitting across from my boy, and I'm watching the big screen that's right above us. Because at this point, they're on the opposite side of the field, and I'm like, I really want to see what's going on. And you should have seen my face when they're in the huddle, and I start hearing, "Let's go Dolphins." I got so fucking pissed. Sir, I stood up, and I was like, what the fuck are you guys doing? And I started doing, shut the fuck up. My section, mind you, and here goes into the two-part answer, we were surrounded by Vikings fans. I mean surrounded, sir. It was a sea of purple. So the second part to your question, you're like, yo, it was really loud. You have no idea how loud it was. It wasn't just us. Well, not us, because I wouldn't be so stupid to do any noise on offense. But, sir, we were getting drowned out by Vikings fans clapping their hands together and going, skull, skull, skull.
I couldn't hear that through the TV. That I couldn't recognize. But I did hear it get louder. Now, a part of me kind of understands if it's a casual fan and you're going for it on 4th down, that's exciting. Like, oh, shit, we're going for it on 4th down. Everybody recognizes, even if you're just a casual fan, 4th down, that's a big deal. So I kind of get it. But, like, at some point, I mean, at least common sense to football fans should kick in. Like, all right, but you got to let them communicate, right? They got to work around what they see on the defense. Maybe we got to call an audible. There's different things going around.
So, no, listen. The credit goes to Vikings fans. They showed up for their team. The away side, Danny, I have video of it, and I'll show it to you the next time we're together. It was purple up and down on that sideline, bro. I mean, from first row to row 25, Vikings fans. My section, row 130, row 1, 2 Dolphin fans sitting next to each other, myself and my boy, nothing but Vikings fans around us. And a lot of them were chirping. A lot of them were chirping at the end of that game, sir. Oh, where are these Dolphin fans going now? I turned around. I said, I'm still right here. Right here. Here's where I am. I stayed to the last whistle because that's just how I am.
Are you going to be there for the Steelers game?
I will not be there for the Steelers game, sir. I will not be there for the Steelers game, unfortunately. As like I said, I'm here for work, sir. And by the time I get back, it's going to be too close to, go to that game.
Understood.
But let's talk about something else, sir. And you probably read this one when I sent you the show sheet. You're like, who the fuck is actually hating on the Penguin?
Well, I get it. I mean, he that fumble was pretty costly.
So let's talk about that fumble. Do you know what Jalen Waddle's numbers were for the end of that game?
No.
Okay. I'm gonna read you the box numbers here real quick, sir.
I know they're better than they've been the last couple of weeks because the last couple of weeks killed me in fantasy.
Yep. 6 catches, 129 yards. His longest was a 49. Tyreek Hill's longest was a 28. Okay? So let's put into perspective that Jalen Waddle's had 2 bad weeks, but it's uncharacteristic of him to drop that ball the way he did. Now, he's had some bad drops, like the ones that hit him in the hands. I get it. You're not always going to be perfect and be able to catch the ball. But there were actual people on Twitter blasting this kid. And I don't mean blasting this kid in oh my God, he shouldn't have fumbled that ball. First of all, who do you think was more upset, the fan base or that man that we're driving down the field and he gives up that big ass fumble? Do you think he doesn't care more than your average fan? No, I'm pretty sure that he was beyond pissed with himself, and you saw it on the way that he went to the sideline. You saw the way his face looked on that sideline. I'm so ready for him to see what he's going to do with Tua this week against Pittsburgh. But Danny, I'm glad you said casual fan, and when we were just talking about the loudness of them saying "Let's go Dolphins" when we're on 4th and 5, it has to be bandwagon fans that would be even thinking about giving shit to the Penguin, right? I got to be right about that.
No, for sure. I mean, they must not know what he did his rookie season. They must not know how he looked the first couple weeks of the season.
Right.
They got excited
coming into this now.
Right. They got excited and they think Tyreek Hill is the star here, and then the other guy is just messing up. So that's a possibility. Now, another thing is that Twitter's just a toxic place, and people just like to give them
for sure, bro.
They just like to see things that are going to get attention. So that's another thing.
Okay.
But what I did like about not that I like to fumble, but what I did what he did afterwards is that the next offensive drive, he had a big play.
Yeah.
He had a big time catch, and he ran for I don't know how many yards. That long that you said was 40-something yards. I don't know if it was that play.
It was that one. It was that one.
So, and that was after the fumble.
With Connor Williams leading the way down the field the whole entire way.
And he bucked it up the sideline.
Yep.
So like that's to me, that's a big boy play. Like, you didn't let that get to your head. You got there and you thought to yourself, I'm going to get in the end zone, because it looked like he was determined. Like, he didn't get there, but that's how you make up for a big mistake. Obviously, you couldn't make up for it altogether. You still lost the game. But if he was on my team, I would have been thrilled with that comeback, with that reaction to hit that fumble.
I appreciate that, and that's exactly what I thought as a avid Dolphins fan. There is nothing that kid could do right now unless he fumbles every game from here on out for the rest of the season in big time plays that would even get me to meritly say, "Oh my God, we need to get rid of Jalen Waddle." But,
okay, I have a random question for you, a stupid question, a hypothetical that just popped in my head. Dumb as shit, but it's a podcast, so why not?
I like it.
If you had to get rid of one of your receivers, which one would you get rid of? Waddle or Tyreek Hill? Obviously, you don't have to. It's a hypothetical. You can only keep one of them right now.
Tyreek Hill.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though Waddle's so much younger?
That's the reason I'm keeping Waddle, because of...
No, you said you would get rid of Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I would get rid of Tyreek Hill.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
The age
of Waddle, because that's what I would do. I would keep Waddle.
Speed I think is going to be there for Tyreek for many more seasons, because I think Desmond Green, I believe that's his name. Correct me if I'm wrong. The one that used to play for Green Bay, that guy was still running. Desmond Howard. He was still running 4.3s well into his 40s. So I think speed and the way Tyreek treats his body, he's going to be dominant for more seasons to come. But the upside to Jalen Waddle, that he does have Tyreek Hill speed. The fact that he's so young, the fact that he's on a friendly contract. If you're asking me to right now put a gun to my head, pick one, I'm going to stick with Waddle.
And I also like Waddle's build a little better. I think Waddle is built a little more to take punishment. Like to take punishment. Like, I know Tyreek gets up. I get all that. Yeah. But I feel like in a couple of years, that's going to catch up to him, because doesn't have that big build. I feel like Waddle is a little stockier.
Well, let me tell you, sir, I don't think you've seen Tyreek Hill in person. That guy is
No, I know. I've seen his biceps. I get it. But to me, Waddle looks a little stockier.
No, I get it. I think he's more spread out.
More filled in.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill looks really, really cut. Really, really cut.
Yes.
But I don't know. I think it would be harder to move Waddle. And I could be completely wrong. It's just something that I've thought I've seen with my eyes. But again, I could be 100% wrong on that.
Listen, guys, that was just a hypothetical. Nobody would ever listen. I bet you're going to cut that. Like, oh my God, they want to get rid of Tyreek Hill. We did not say that. Jesus Christ.
I should cut it right there.
Let's talk about the third best tight end in the league in Mike Gesicki, the gritty master himself. God, he was getting a lot of beef.
I have a theory.
Okay.
My theory is that he told all the Dolphins offense that he planned on doing the gritty every time he scored a touchdown this season. And because it's so foul, they have purposely not given him the ball unless they absolutely had to. He is like the fourth check down. That is my theory.
I can see that. But you know what? I like it. Why do I like it? Not because I think it's good. It's really not. And he knows it's not good. I like it because no matter how bad it is, he's still going to hit it. He's still going to hit that gritty. He doesn't care because he's having fun with it. And I enjoyed him having this game, Danny, because you know that I've been wanting him to get involved. 6 catches, 69 yards, gets in the end zone twice. Danny, I've been asking for it all season. I'm glad I finally got it. But again, if this guy, and I have a strong feeling, especially with the reports that came out today, that he's on the trading block. If they trade him to an offense that even has a, let's say,
oh my God, if the Jets get him, forget it, it's over.
Let's say that he has. If they trade him, I don't think it's going to be within the division unless you guys give up a stupid amount of picks. But if
we'll give you Elijah Moore.
Oof. If he gets to a team, let's say with tier 2 quarterbacks or higher, Mike is going to blow up the league.
I disputed your take on he's the 3rd best tight end in the league, but I've always told you I thought he could be top 5 someday. Yeah, maybe even this year he could be top 5. I know it's not a big difference between 5 and 3, but to me it was.
I get it.
I think he's one of the better and has the potential to be one of the better tight ends in the league. So if you use him, I think he's going to cook. They just haven't been using him.
And you know what I appreciate even more, unlike Elijah Moore, that you decided to bring up his name, is the fact that they've asked him all season, does it bother you that you're not being involved? And he literally said, we're winning. If this is what it takes, me blocking more, me getting less catches, and we're winning.
But didn't he just get paid?
No, he's on a franchise tag.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he's on a franchise tag, sir.
But the thing is, I think he's already built. Like, look at us. We're talking about the fact that he's probably one of the top 5 tight ends in the league. Yeah. It's easy to be like, don't worry, I'll get my money eventually. Not to get into the Jets, but like Elijah Moore is like, I need to make a name for myself, or else this big paycheck isn't coming in the future. I think that's a big difference.
I'm not wishing any ill will on Mike Gesicki by any means, but he's on a franchise tag, and he could have a really bad injury right now, and he doesn't end up getting paid like the type of skill level that he brings to the field. So
it's probably best that he doesn't get involved.
Probably. But the fact that he's playing on a franchise tag and he's saying all the right things, and you know what? Again, eye test. When you go back and watch those all 22 angles, the man is blocking up and down the field, and he is getting open.
And that was his weakness.
Down the field. Right. And you know what? It's not great blocking, but he's doing it. He's doing it, and he's practiced hard at doing it. And even when he's not getting the ball, he's getting open down the field. And even though he's not getting the ball, you don't hear him out here requesting trades to other teams. Just saying. But listen. Moving on. We're moving on to excitingness here, sir. Sunday Night Football. I've been dying for the Dolphins to return to Sunday Night Football, and we're finally getting it. We're getting it with the throwback unis that you also really like as a Jets fan.
If it wasn't for being a Dolphin jersey, I might get one.
Fair enough. The end zone is going to have the throwback logos and colors in there too. Very excited for that as well. But Danny, the obvious storyline is Tua's coming back. The other obvious storyline is Brian Flores is coming back. Is on the opposite sideline. And even bigger, Stephen Ross is coming back. No, I'm kidding on that last one. You know, I don't think I don't think the owner watching games
makes absolutely no difference.
Right. For like you guys had basically Woody Johnson in Europe for like a whole season, so it really doesn't make
4 years
any difference. So let's talk about that. Tua will do everything in his power to defeat Brian Flores, and I get it. Let's not make this just about that, because one thing I could assure you, if the offense gets presented, because last week it was the defense, I think they're going to go with presenting the offense, and Tua will be the last one to come out that tunnel. I promise you, our fan base is going to blow that stadium up when Tua, just for the simple fact of what the kid's been through, how he's been treated from the outside view, and everything he's done leading up to. He's, from Mike McDaniel's point of view, he goes, you could tell how much his kid loves football, because even though he's not playing, I'm calling plays into the quarterback, and he's repeating them while standing right next to me. Just as I call it in, he's saying it out loud. When a player messes up, he goes out there and talks to them. I don't have to go do that. When a quarterback needs help understanding something, he's on the sideline helping the quarterback understand what he needs to do. Like the epitome of a team player, the epitome of a captain is what Tua's been showing these last 3 weeks that he hasn't been able to play. But let's not make a big deal of it. But we know, well, we presume to know the feelings that Brian Flores had towards Tua Tagovailoa, right? So,
I mean, if all the reports are true, it's pretty obvious. He just thought he sucked ass.
Right. And he didn't want him. Like, he didn't want him. Every opportunity he had to yank him from a game, he would yank him from a game. So
Crazy.
Let's talk about it. Tua's going to do everything in his power to defeat Brian Flores. And I get it. Brian Flores is not the defensive play caller, but he's the assistant to the defensive play caller. So everything that he knows about Tua, he's going to bring it this game. But again, it's a different offense than what Brian Flores had when he was, because he hired every single shitty offensive coordinator to run the offense for Tua Tagovailoa. Now he has Mike McDaniels in his corner. This has to matter. Like, yeah, you may know some of Tua's weaknesses, but our offensive coordinator, which is actually an offensive coordinator, brings out those strengths of Tua, and I think we're going to see it this week. But what do you feel? How are you feeling about this matchup coming into it?
The fact that Brian Flores knows Tua's game so well, and also the fact that he, again, all speculation because nobody's come out and confirmed it. But
correct.
If it's true that he was constantly telling him that he sucked, and the way he was yanking him, there has to be something in his game that he didn't like. And whatever it is that's in his game that he didn't like, he's going to come out and try to attack. He must have thought, this is what's going to cause us to lose. So now on the opposite side, he's going to be like, let's attack this. My worry for you guys is that you guys gave up 6 sacks against the Vikings. Like, your offensive line did not necessarily look great on Sunday. And let me tell you something. The Steelers bring the heat.
Yep.
They bring pressure. So there's a good chance that Tua is running around a lot, and he's going to take some hits. Now, my question to you is, what happens when he takes a pretty bad hit and he lands on the ground? Now, I know what he's going to do. His first instinct is going to be to jump up as quickly as possible to try to avoid that spotter.
Yeah.
But I feel if I were you, I would be really worried. I'd be really worried because you're going to play against a defense that blitzes a lot, a defense that has – I have to check the stats, but they pressure and they get to the quarterbacks quite a bit. And then you have Tua coming back from what's obviously been talked about over and over again over the last 3 weeks. Like, you got to keep Tua clean because I don't doubt that they pull him really quick because it's a primetime game and all eyes in the country are focused in on this game, on this player. Like, if he takes a bad hit, the NFL knows this is a primetime game. Everybody's watching.
Yeah.
Like, if this was a Sunday at 1 o'clock, maybe it's a little different. But primetime, that was the reason that the Bengals thing was such a big deal because it was a primetime game. Everybody was watching it. So it drew everybody's attention. They're going to bring that up. They're going to show the replays before the game starts, during the game, after he gets his first sack. Like, that's going to be a constant conversation throughout the game. So the first time he gets hit or his head or shoulder hits the ground in any which way, they're going to bring it up. Oh, he got up okay. Oh, did he stumble? And everybody's going to be talking about it on Twitter. The NFL's got their spotter check. They might, because it's only one game, they might have like 4 or 5 spotters at the game. Like, I think it's going to be an overdone storyline in the game, but I think it's going to be a good one, a big one.
To answer your initial question, I'm not that worried about it. And here's why I'm not worried about it. But let me touch on something else real quick. By the way, did the NFL release a statement saying that spotters are only to be able to be used for Dolphins games? Because I feel like the spotters aren't being used in any other game of people getting concussions.
I believe they did say that. They did say that.
Cool. I just wanted to make sure that was a statement. Yes, all right, moving on to why I'm not worried. 2 quick topics. Mike McDaniel apparently had a conversation with Tua about that. And Tua came out in his press conference and talked about it. He goes, I may not have got hurt if I wasn't consistently holding on the ball for so long, trying to make a bigger play when it's not there. And we could agree. I think you and I talked about it when the injury happened. Nobody's blaming Tua for trying to make a bigger play happen, but the injury did happen because of how much longer you held on to that ball. You could have rushed for a yard. You could have thrown it out the sideline. And these are things he mentioned. He goes, I've never been a type of player to throw the ball out of bounds, but maybe I have to start doing that. And this is what coach is telling me. He goes, if you see an easy dump off, it might be a yard or two, but guess what? It's going to avoid you getting hit. So I feel like for the last 3 weeks, he's been predicating this into his head. I need you to start looking at these things. If it's not there, get rid of it. If it's not there, dump it off. So this is why I'm not worried about that defense pressure as much. And it is a vaunted defense when it comes to pressure. But before I let you get in your topic, sir, they are giving 227 yards through the air per. That's the average so far against Steve. That's the average, 227 yards per the air. And you got Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. I'm just saying, even Cedric Wilson might have 30 yards this game. I'm just throwing that out there. But go ahead. What was going to be your point?
Cedric Wilson isn't going to have no 30 yards. You just said that. It completely threw me off. I forgot what my point was.
I meant to. I meant to do that to you.
No. Doesn't that worry you a little bit that Tua is going to come into this game thinking too much? Like, I feel like he might be over. Because it almost makes sense, right? Like, okay, he's not thinking too much. Just if it's not there, throw it away. But I feel like he's going to be overthinking. Because Tyreek is going to get open in another second. Do I hold on to it and wait that second, or do I throw it away? Is the pressure coming? Like, I feel like he might be overthinking this game. I think that might work against you guys.
I think the play calling is going to be predicated to what the strengths are. And you know what? We're talking about it. Let's talk about the keys to the game real quick because it leads directly into what you just asked me. I think the keys to the game is you have two studs that could get over the top. But let's stop worrying about getting over the top, Danny. The yak that these boys bring to the table was reflected against the Minnesota Vikings. Tyreek Hill would catch a 5-yard pass and then run for 20. Jalen Waddle would catch a 5-yard out, running for 49. I think you need to start. My key is short passes, short passes, short passes. Until they prove they can stop your short passes, hammer them with it. Let Raheem Mostert come out the backfield. Stop throwing to Chase Edmonds. I'm sorry, Chase. I didn't mean that. But seriously, he keeps having bad drops. So I say
he has big drops,
Yeah, listen, Raheem Mostert out the backfield, hand it off to him. Short passes to Jalen Waddle, short passes to Tyreek Hill. Let those boys get and let them eat yak. I think that would be my key to the game. What about you?
Isn't this kid Armstead coming back?
He's questionable. Him and Austin Jackson should see the field this week. That's what Mike McDaniel has said. That they were close to playing last week, but they weren't just there yet. So this week of practice, big man Teron Armstead, they're giving him a lot of vet days off just to rest that toe. But I think that you will see him this week, and I think Austin Jackson does come back.
And I think that helps because when I'm telling you that this kid Hightower from the Steelers, when him on one side and TJ Watt, I know TJ Watt's injured, he's not going to play in the game.
Correct,
I'm saying with those two out there, the Steelers must be a pain in the ass to play against. Because I watched them play a couple weeks ago, and just this kid Hightower gets in there with so much reckless abandon. Like it's crazy how quickly and how devastating he is getting into the quarterbacks. So I think that's going to be a big time if you guys can get those guys back. I'm with you. Whenever you have a team that pressures you so much, you got to hit them with the quick dump offs. Let them get that yak.
No, I'm going to let you finish, but I just wanted to because I just looked at the injury report that was just released. Teron Armstead and Austin Jackson are not on it. But go ahead, go back to your point.
They're not okay. So so you have to attack them with that short passing game, like you said. I was saying it all year. Before I realized that Tua could consistently get the ball downfield, he was still going to put up yards because all you need to do is dump it off to Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Look at Teddy Bridgewater in the fourth quarter. Teddy Bridgewater, one drive was basically all Tyreek Hill. But he made Teddy Bridgewater look like a competent starting quarterback.
Like people were actually bringing up his 300+ yards. Yeah, like 200 of those were literally yak yards. But go ahead, continue.
We should look that up because I'm pretty sure 200+ were just yak yards. So that's all you need. You don't need Tua to come out and win you the game. You need Tua to protect the ball, get the ball where it needs to be. He's an accurate quarterback. Everybody knows that. He's probably one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league. Get the ball where it needs to go, short yardage, before the pressure gets there, and let Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle do what they do. And with the defense, I mean, Kenny Pickett now is a little more comfortable if he's playing, but I still don't think he's anywhere near a world beater. If your defense can stand up to them, I think unless Najee Harris. I mean, I guess Najee Harris can run on you guys. I don't know.
Well,
But
Dalvin Cook.
I just can't.
So.
No, but Bryce Hall did.
So
So I don't know. Your defense is that it still has me in a pickle. I still don't know if I can trust it. I don't know if I can trust it.
I get it. So, well, then let's go ahead and predict this game because it's prediction time. Being that it's Sunday Night Football, sir, I want you to go first because I'm obviously way more excited about Sunday Night Football because I'm pretty sure that you're gonna watch this game just because we got to talk about it. But for the most part,
I watch every Dolphin game this year.
Right, I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited about this game, so I really want to get your prediction out of the way first. Now knowing that Teron Armstead will play, Austin Jackson's going to play, and who would have thought 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago when he got hurt that we'd be excited to have Austin Jackson back in? But the way that the offensive line has been playing so atrocious, Greg Little, he's been a good contributor, but guess what? At left tackle, that guy does not belong at left tackle. He was getting beat all day. Liam Eichenberg getting beat all day. But Danny, officially, what's your prediction time for this week?
Well, I do like what Dolph Freaky came out and said about bringing their own towels and trying to drown out those yellow towels because those terrible towels are going to be out there. So I did like that. I don't know if you guys are going to accomplish it, but I think that would be a great strategy to go, and you should figure out a way to get this out there, Manny, because you got to try to help with that cause.
For sure.
Now, I do think that there's going to be a lot of Steeler representation in that stadium. So whether it's fourth down or third down, I think it's going to get loud, kind of like it did last week against the Vikings.
Yep.
Because I'm not sure about your defense, I have a hard time picking this game.
Okay.
Because I want to say Tua is going to play well, but I do think that the Steelers are going to get to him. I do think there's a chance that we have some type of controversy if he lands wrong.
Okay.
Kenny Pickett looked pretty good against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which is one of the best defenses in the league before he got concussed or whatever it was that happened when Trubisky came back in.
Yeah, don't worry about it. He's already practicing. So, apparently it wasn't a concussion. The spotter didn't see it. But go ahead.
A part of me wants to say that the Steelers are going to win, but I have a very hard time thinking that you guys are going to lose in your home on Sunday night with Brian Flores back in the building, with Tua returning. I feel like even though everything is telling me to pick the Steelers, I just can't imagine you guys losing.
Say it.
In this situation. So in this situation, I just can't imagine you guys losing this game. So even though it's almost like common sense is telling me, no, the Steelers are going to win this game, I have a hard time believing that you guys won't. So I'm going to say the Dolphins are going to take this game, and I think they're going to take it 23-17.
I like it. I like that pick, but I'm gonna be a little bit more blasphemous this week. So ESPN has us as basically 75% favorites to win this game. They're giving us 7 points. We're 7 point. Sorry, the Steelers are 7-point underdogs. So they got us by a full touchdown, thinking that we're gonna win this game, and I agree. I think that it's gonna be a little bit more than 7 points. With Tua coming back, Mike McDaniel knows the disrespect that Tua went through.
Remember, the Steelers just beat the Buccaneers. Just want to remind you one more time.
Tom Brady's 50 years old. I don't give a fuck. I think that with all the positives that are coming back this game, Teron Armstead coming back, Austin Jackson coming back, Tua coming back, obviously, having that connection back with Jalen Waddle, having that connection with Tyreek Hill that would look really good for the first 3 weeks. Something tells me that this game is going to be close for a little bit, and when Tua gets comfortable again, it's going to be bad for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You remember how you said that the only quarter that we looked good in was when Tua threw those 6 touchdowns and he put up 28 points in the fourth quarter. Danny, I see 28 points through three quarters for the Miami Dolphins this week. I think that we do put up somewhere between 28 to 31 points on the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that if Kenny Pickett does start, rookies tend to make more mistakes than veterans. And I don't think Mitch Trubisky's a great player, but I think he'll take care of the ball more than Kenny Pickett will. So I'm leaning towards wanting Kenny Pickett to be in the game. He's got some legs on him. He will get out of the pocket, but I don't think it'll be enough this week. I think that our crowd will really be into this game, not just because Tua's coming back, but because it's Sunday Night Football. Like you said, the whole world is watching. Every single NFL team will be watching.
That could work against you. I'm telling you.
It could. But something tells me, and I've picked games pretty fairly for when it's your Jets, and I pick pretty games fairly when it's been my team. Something tells me that this game is going to be special. I could be dead wrong, obviously, but I think this game is going to be special, and I think Tua's he's going to come out rough at first because he's had 3 weeks off. I don't think he'll turn the ball over. I think there'll be a couple of 3-and-outs here and there. But something tells me he's going to find his niche this game, and he's going to light up the Pittsburgh Steelers. I see a 28-31 game for the Dolphins, and I'm going to stick with your score for the Steelers. I think they're going to put up around 17 points.
And don't forget that Tua is technically undefeated this season. I know that they were undefeated. They lost to the Bengals, but he came back in the fourth quarter against the Ravens. Nothing says that he couldn't have done that against the Bengals. So Tua is technically undefeated so far this year. So I am 100% with you. Tua could lead them to a victory. I don't know. I think this is going to be I can't imagine that they're going to blow them out like you're saying. I think Najee Harris is very similar to Bryce Hall. I think he could run up the yards. And I still haven't seen the pass pressure from you guys. Where are you guys at?
It's been missing for quite some time. Jalen Phillips did get a sack this past game against Christian Wilkins. Also looked amazing. But again, we're talking about the Steelers game. Great. Yes, he did. It's contract year. It's contract year for big boys. So I think he is going to get paid, just like your boy Quentin Williams to get paid. But Danny, thank you for joining me on the episode 7 of the Battered Fins podcast. It was different. It was different recording all the way from Oven State, Arizona.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because my night's about to end and your night hasn't even started yet. I'm sure the sun's still outside.
I'm going to go get some Raising Cane's after this, but go ahead.
I think the Dolphins, there's no way they lose. I really do. I feel like everything is telling me because of the circumstances that they're going to win. But if the Steelers manage to win, it's going to be because of a Minkah Fitzpatrick turnover.
Oh, you had to bring that sucker in. Fuck Minkah Fitzpatrick. I'm telling you,
I feel it. That I think that the Dolphins are going to win. But if they were to lose, Minkah Fitzpatrick is going to be the reason. And it's going to almost be like the turning of that knife.
By the way, real quick before we sign off, do you think there will even be a handshake even before or after the game? Do you think there will be a handshake between Tua and Brian Flores? No. I don't think so either. I just want to throw that back in there right before we finish out. But ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching, if you're listening, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, thank you so much for joining us on episode 7. Sorry that we had to get it to you so late. Unfortunately, sometimes your boss needs you to fly out to Arizona for a few days of training. But we appreciate you. That is Danny G, the Battered Jet fan himself. I am the Bearded Fanatic, and this was episode 7 of the Battered Fins Fans podcast. Peace.